so the balance is way off. But I'll give you an idea how it's supposed to spin. Actually, that's not that bad.
Not bad at all.
I don't want to move it, but I have to.
So I'm 54 years old. I'm a local Brockville resident. Heavily indentured, I guess, into vintage motorcycles and motorcycling as a whole. I've been riding for close to 40 years now. The first motorcycle I ever saw belonged to my uncle. It was, I believe, a 60s Harley-Davidson former police bike that he had converted. I actually, when I was about 4 years old, was playing on it in front of my house, and it fell over on me. He didn't even get mad. He just came downstairs, picked the bike up, picked me up, brushed me off, and everything was cool. But that was my first experience with a motorcycle, and I've just had family members that have had them forever, in all styles. First bike was a 1972 RC5 350 Yamaha. I bought it here in Lynn from a school chum of mine for $350. And I rode it home at 90 miles an hour down a gravel road on Howard before they paved it. And I've had a series of bikes ever since. My garage has never been without a motorcycle, at least one. This project behind me, which is a 1968 Triumph Bonneville, made famous primarily for people that aren't into motorcycling by a guy named Steve McQueen. It was his motorcycle of choice, and that's one of the reasons that I picked it as a project. Originally, I wanted to build a custom bike, but when I found this, there was only one part that was missing. Not all the pieces were usable, but the one part that was missing was a side cover. It spent 30 years in a shed, exposed to the weather, and when I brought it home, it was completely seized. The pistons are about halfway up the cylinders. They're not opposed pistons. They move in unison like this, rather than like this. So taking it apart and getting the seizing out was probably 2.5 months. Everything came apart with a ball-peen hammer and a manual impact driver. I like the lines of the Triumph. I like the way even the engine casings, when it's all assembled, I like the way they run and I like the way they flow. Even the shape of this gas tank. It's just the look and the classic appearance. Everybody recognizes that bike. Hopefully, within a month, the bike will be back together, and I will be able to take it to our annual motorcycle rally in Delta, which is put on by the club that I am now the president of. That's the Old Bastards Vintage Motorcycle Club. It was founded in Delta, hence the name, the original township name of Bastard, by 5 old guys that had racing history, and they were doing the same thing I'm doing right now, building vintage bikes, mostly English, in a garage. But they were doing it together, and they started the club, and now it's grown to about 400 members. And that's what we do. Try to promote safe motorcycling. We ride both new and old, and we donate to charity every year. The characters and the people that I've met, they have stories like I've never heard. My love of history, my interest in the past. I never raced, but I had friends that raced. I have lost a number of friends both on the street and on the racetrack. It's just something I can't get out of me. And that bike was very common. Every time I talk to somebody about it or they see it, I had one of those. My dad had one of those. My mom actually rode on one of those, or something along those lines. People know the Bonneville, and that's why I chose it.